Hello there and welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson is going to be a nice, easy one. There's nothing that you really need to remember or learn. It's just a few concepts and ideas that I want to run by you. The reason I'm doing this lesson today is because the way I learned to do hypnosis back in the early 90s was, in my opinion, completely upside down, and it took me a really long time to get my head around what was going on. I learned all the words you have to say, the scripts that you use, and I learned all that stuff first. But I didn't really have a proper grasp of the entire hypnotic concept. I didn't really understand what was going on. And it was because of that I had this false belief that hypnosis required some kind of mind control or mystical psychic influence over another person. Now back then, I obviously knew I didn't have any of those mystical skills, so I had a really hard time believing that I could become a hypnotist. I had all the scripts, I knew all the psychology, but because I still had this false belief about what hypnosis was, which had really been created by the media, I was really struggling with my own confidence. So the way I like to teach hypnosis is to give people a really solid foundation, a really thorough understanding of the hypnotic process from a distance before you get into the nitty-gritty of the script. So like when you understand hypnosis, you understand what trance is, what gets people into trance and natural occurring states and all that kind of thing, then all of a sudden it's like a light bulb moment. It suddenly clicks in your mind and you realise how incredibly easy it is just to get someone from a normal waking state of consciousness into the state that we call hypnosis. And when that seems easy and you're using the induction scripts, they're much more effective. Mainly because you feel more confident and the person can pick up on that. So your expectation of them going into trance is much higher because you understand that to go into trance is a very easy and natural thing. Also, what a lot of people think at the beginning when they're first learning about hypnosis is that you do something to the other person. It's like you put them under. You're doing something that somehow changes that person's psychology so that they become hypnotized and they start accepting suggestions. Now, that's not the whole truth. It's not exactly what's going on. What is more accurate is to say that all hypnosis is really self-hypnosis and you're just working a little bit like a guide. One of the best ways I can think of to describe this relationship between you and the person you're hypnotizing is a little bit like learning to drive. For example, let's say you're sat in the driving seat of a car on your very first lesson and you don't have a clue how to drive. You're at the controls, but you have a person next to you with no controls at all who knows exactly how to drive the car, and they've got to somehow get their knowledge into you so that you can make the car move. What happens? They give you simple instructions. They tell you which pedals to press, how to turn the wheel and what to do. You follow their instructions and you make the car move. Now it's exactly the same with hypnosis. When you hypnotize somebody, you're like that car driving instructor sitting in the passenger seat with no controls. All you can do is give the person learning the instructions. You give them instructions, they follow the instructions, and they actually put themselves into a hypnotic state. Now, it's the subtlety of those instructions and how detailed you are of those instructions that are effective. For example, one of the things that will cause someone to go into a hypnotic state is to increase their levels of relaxation, to get them to release stress. But if you just said to someone, okay, I want you to just relax, not many people really know how to do that. So your job as a hypnotist will be to help that person to relax. So you might say, I want you to tense your muscles for a moment, and as you breathe out, just let go. And now you may like to imagine you're having a nice relaxing foot massage, and just imagine your legs are getting heavier and heavier, and all those kind of things. It's the kind of stuff that you will hear in any hypnotic induction, but what it does is it gives the person being hypnotized some direction, something to follow, something to think about, and the result of that will be they will relax themselves, and because they're relaxing themselves, they'll enter into the state that we call hypnosis. In fact, in the next lesson, we're going to explore this idea of how relaxation causes trance in a lot more detail. But today, I kind of want to stick with that car analogy for a moment. Meditation is quite similar to hypnosis. When you're talking about driving the car and the actual process of driving the car being the process of being hypnotized, If you've got a driving instructor telling you what to do, that's almost like you've got a hypnotist hypnotising a person. If you've got a person that's just driving around by themselves, that's a person doing self-hypnosis. If you've got a person that's driving around by themselves with no real destination in mind and they're just enjoying the scenery and having a nice Sunday drive in the country, that's a little bit like meditation. Now, the main difference between that and the idea of using self-hypnosis, hypnotherapy, stage hypnosis or whatever is the idea of having a goal in mind, a destination. So when you hypnotise a person, it's very much like you're sitting in a passenger seat of a car, you're telling them how to drive the car, they're driving the car, and you're also telling them where to drive the car to so that they can have an experience when they get there. Now, it's also worth bearing in mind that when they do get there, they need to get out of the car and get into the experience. So there is a point during a hypnotic session where you start off with what you would call a hypnotic induction, which is the how you drive the car. We deepen that, which is the enjoying the drive in the car. And then when we get to the destination, we get out of the car and we do whatever it is that we've gone there to do. And that is the actual therapy part, or it's the actual stage hypnosis part. Now, it's worth mentioning here that it doesn't really matter if you're hypnotising a person to help them in some way through hypnotherapy, whether you're doing a past life regression, whether you are doing a stage hypnotic routine with that person, or whatever the purpose of hypnosis is, that doesn't really matter. The actual induction itself can be exactly the same. Now, they're usually not, and the reason for this, there's a couple of reasons actually. First and foremost, stage hypnosis inductions are normally much more dynamic. And the reason is that not only do you need to hypnotise the people to do the stage show, but the induction itself needs to be entertaining for the audience that are watching. So they want to come along and they want to see something entertaining. If you're going to go through a 30-minute progressive relaxation induction on stage, that's going to bore your audience to sleep as well. And of course, stage hypnotic inductions, they are faster, they are more dynamic, but there tends to be a lot more of an authoritarian approach. You tend to jerk people around and you kind of demand them to do certain things that might not be appropriate in a therapeutic setting. When you get someone come for hypnotherapy, quite often you'll get someone who it wouldn't be appropriate to yank their arm down, which is something you might do on a stage hypnosis setting in order to shock somebody into trance. What's much more probable, if you'll have them lie down on a comfortable couch and then you'll talk them into hypnosis just using a relaxation script. So that about wraps up today. The main key points of today, the reason I wanted to get this lesson right here at the beginning, is so that you get a much broader understanding of the hypnosis process. Also, the relationship between you and the person that you're hypnotising. It's not about mind control, it's not about psychic influence or any kind of mind power or anything like that. You're just giving someone a set of instructions so they can accomplish something which is quite natural anyway. And in tomorrow's lesson, we're going to be looking at that whole idea of people going down into a hypnotic state just because of relaxation. We'll explain why that happens, how you can take advantage of that, and how you can start creating your very own hypnotic scripts. So until tomorrow, you take care and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.